Hey everyone, welcome back to the Talking North podcast. A 14-point win over Essendon on Sunday at Marvel Stadium takes us to 8-7 for the year, 9th on the ladder. Despite, maybe the performances in the last few weeks not being the greatest, we've won 4 out of our last 5 and we are in the positives more than halfway through the season. If I was told this at the start of the season, I would have taken it 100%. And going into the season, I predicted us to only win 7 games, and we've already won 8. So I just want to start off with that because, I might sound negative throughout the episode at times, but I just want people to realise that I am thrilled with where we're at in our development. This is only the start. Just want to apologise for my voice. I'm a little bit sick, but we'll push through, and hopefully I won't have to stop too much. So let's start off with the first quarter. What I noticed immediately was the intensity at centre bounce. The first 2 centre clearances of the game, we started with Trembath, Wardlaw, Sheasel and LDU, and that to me was quite an attacking way to go into those centre bounces. Not having the defensive-minded Finn O'Sullivan who started the game at half forward, tagging Merritt at half back. And that, actually really benefited us to start the game with George Walder getting the first 2 centre clearances. He looked absolutely electric to start the game. And LDU was able to open the scoring for us with a really nice goal from 50, which is what we've all been crying out for with LDU. And when he kicked that, it felt like it really set the tone for a game that I thought we could really roll over the top of Essendon. And we did continue to dominate in the first quarter, but man, we were inaccurate. We were entering the ball, apart from there was one moment where LDU just completely missed a kick to Larkey, we were entering the ball quite well inside 50. It's just we kept on missing, and like last week against Richmond at the G, I think it was a little bit more forgivable, the set shot kicking, from the likes of Dersma and some other players, but it was just really odd to see us kick so inaccurately under the roof. I think every game this season, we've kicked more goals than behinds at Marvel, and we ended up with 9 goals, 19 in this game, and the first quarter really set the standard for that. We went into quarter time 4 points up, but it was 2 goals 6 to 2 goals 2, and it just felt, it was a bit of a bitter feeling. It was like, we really should be up by more, and it didn't help that Ben Mackay got an uncontested mark in the goal square to put them up actually during the first quarter. That didn't help. So it was a bit of a, despite how well we were playing, it was a bit of a negative start to the game, and it didn't get much better going into the start of the second quarter. I felt like Essendon was scoring way too easily when they were going in. By the end of the game, we actually ended up being more efficient going inside 50, but they were converting their chances while at the other end we weren't. But what I thought was really important in this second term was Jacob Consani kicked 2 straight in a matter of minutes to kind of steady the ship a little bit. We were still dominating at clearance, but finally we're able to convert. So in the second quarter, we kicked 3 goals 3, which happened to be our most accurate quarter of the game, which is kind of wild that kicking 50% at goal in a quarter was the most accurate we were during the game, but that's just how it was. We were still just killing them at clearance, but the ruck combination for me wasn't working. And looking back to selection, with Sherry going out, Goad also coming out as well for CCJ and Dawson, I was pretty surprised by that choice. If I had to guess why that decision was made, it would maybe be that Goad can't play 50% of the game. That's what was required from Dawson, and CCJ played, I think Dawson was 53% of the game, CCJ was 47%, so they perfectly, that resulted in 100% of the time either one of them being on. That can be my only guess for why Goad wasn't playing, but I really did not like what I saw at ruck. We got dominated, but fortunately we were able to win clearance throughout the day marginally, and especially in the first half I thought we were quite good there. Sheasel and LU were just really, really good in there, laying a lot. They actually ended up laying the most tackles for the game and having the most clearances for the game, so if that doesn't explain the dominance we had at contest, I don't know what does. We went into half-time up by, I think it was around 9 points. 5 goals 9 to 4 goals 6 going into the second half. Again, I still felt like we should have been up by more, but it was okay. Like, we were up. And then it came to the third quarter, which was, again, just like in the Richmond, just like in the West Coast games that we've won the last 2 weeks, it was our best quarter. Really set the tone early with a Trembath chase down tackle in the goal square. That was just brilliant. Really close to where I was sitting as well. That was awesome. He's just got such great intent and desire for the footy. Cooper Trembath, he's such a joy to watch, and he's not perfect all the time, but man, we can't discredit this guy's effort, and he's been an absolute superstar for us this year. But again, accuracy just like held us back. Like, we'd kicked the first 4 of the quarter, like in the first half of the quarter. Like, there was still like 10, 12 minutes to go in the quarter, and we're up by 30 points. It's like, geez, we can really like take the game here, but I did have a weird feeling that we weren't going to be able to, because we couldn't against Richmond, we couldn't against West Coast, and even looking back to the last time we played Essendon, we were also up by about 30 in the third, and I just had a feeling that Essendon would come back, and they did. A nice goal to end the quarter from them, cut the margin down to 25 at 3/4 time, and as much as I wanted to believe that we were going to take the game away in the last, I just had a feeling we wouldn't, because we've struggled at doing that against the lesser teams this year. And I was right. The quarter started off pretty poorly with that arc decision that got, it was inconclusive evidence, so they gave it a goal. And we just let them back in the game, and Larky my God, he just kept on missing. 1 goal, 5 for the day. He was actually marking the ball so well inside 50 as well. I think it's the best he's played in general play for the year, but just his inability to convert was so strange, because it's usually his absolute strength as a player, his set shot kicking. So to miss 5, and to be honest, very gettable chances, was very odd to see. But we just let him kind of linger around a little bit. They ended up cutting it to 14 points, which ended up being the final margin. I never thought we'd lose, but I knew that it was concerning that we weren't able to put the game away. 9 goals 19 to 9 goals 11, 14-point win. We had 9 more scoring shots than them. Like, you got to win by more than 14 points, and might sound greedy because of where we've come from the last few years, but if we do want to push for a wild card, we've got to have a better percentage than this. And I think the last 3 weeks, despite winning all of them, West Coast, Richmond, and Essendon, we could have beaten all of them by more than we did. That's a pessimistic, glass half empty kind of view. We take the win, and I think in general play we looked a lot better this week than we did against Richmond. We were actually moving the ball through the middle really well. I think, the defensive to forward 50 transition was excellent, and we took 19 marks inside 50. I'm pretty sure that's our most for the year. Unfortunately, ended up being pretty inaccurate from set shots, so we didn't quite make the most of it. But I think in general play, it was a fairly good performance. Alright, let's go through the positions now. To start off with, we'll go with the back line, and I want to mention Josh Goda off the bat. First game back in 2.5 years. Did his Achilles back in 2024, and he's had a lot of recurring soft tissue injuries, and it was just excellent to see him come back on team selection night, and he looked very comfortable back at the level. 18 touches, was pretty competitive defensively, and didn't look like he'd missed as much footy as he did. So I'm so pleased to see Josh back. Seems like a great team man. Grew up a North Melbourne supporter, and I don't think we've realised how much we've missed him as a player. I mean, only 12 games for the club before the game against Essendon. But he looked excellent, and pleased to see him back, and I don't see him losing his spot for the rest of the season if he plays as well as he did on the weekend. Next up, Aiden Core. He's come in these last 2 weeks for Griffin Logue, who had a really poor performance against West Coast, and to his credit, he's done well. He kept Nate Caddy fairly quiet. First 3 quarters, Nate Caddy barely touched it. He got 2 in the last. One was bit of a dodgy one on the goal line, and then the other being a screamer he took on Finn O'Sullivan. But aside from those 2 moments, I think Core won pretty much every matchup against Caddy. Impressive performance from Aiden Core. Charlie Combin, solid again. Looked really aggressive on Ben Mackay, like he was getting into him a bit, which I liked, former North Melbourne player, and Comben is someone that actually replaced Ben Mackay's position in our backline, so it was an interesting match-up there, and it was good to see Comben really getting into him. I kind of like when our players bring that kind of intensity, and Comben, really likes to set that standard. Colby McKercher, really good game. He seems to just play really well at Marvel Stadium. Just a game break. He got 2 direct goal assists, a fair few score involvements, even some clearances when he was at midfield. He looks really good, around 25 touches. No complaints for Colby, one of his better games this year. Next up, Caleb Daniel, another 40 disposal game. 98% efficiency is unreal as well. It was probably better than his game against Richmond, I reckon. He had a few moments. There's some times with Caleb where I think maybe he overuses it a little bit. Does probably too many chip kicks, too many, backwards handballs. But I think that's kind of nitpicking, and I genuinely think he's been one of our most important players this year. And another impressive performance from him, really, finding the ball. And he only took 5 kickouts. So, 35 of his disposals were non-kickouts. And he got a fair few inside 50s as well. So, he's becoming more damaging with the ball, but he's also finding more of it. So, he's elevating his game, which has been awesome. And it's kind of rewarding, Brady Rawlings and the selection team for bringing him from the Bulldogs. So, shout out Caleb Daniel. Next up, Luke Parker. Again, more and more I'm noticing Luke Parker less, but I think that's a good thing, because I think it means he's so solidified in our backline now that he doesn't have to be extraordinary to be good. He's just reliable and wins his contests. Another good performance from Luke Parker. Cooper Harvey, maybe his best game for the club. He had a few when he used to be a forward where he kicked, 4 goals against Melbourne last year, and he got a few games with 2, but to look as comfortable as he did in the back line was so impressive. And I'm pretty sure he had the Kako matchup. He kept Kako to under 10 possessions and just very limited scoreboard damage. And Kako's a really good small forward as well. Can't underestimate Kako's ability. But Cooper Harvey was tremendous, not just with the ball, he had 24 touches and 6 score involvements, but he was genuinely very impressive defensively. He had a moment where I don't know why he was matched up on Ben Mackay, but he was able to spoil the ball away. He had another one where he spoiled the ball right into Rosette on level 1, and it was just wow, he's really matured as a player. And I think, the 8 months or so that he did in the VFL as a defender has really come to fruition, and I think he's really starting to mature as a player. And I've always been a huge fan of his. I think he's one of the best kicks in the team, but I think we're using his skill set down back really well. So shout out Cooper Harvey. I think he keeps his spot maybe for the rest of the season. Cam Zurhaar, the last one, interesting one. I'm not 100% sure. I want to see him in the back line still. I think there's a possibility maybe we put him back forward and replace one of our forwards currently with a Hardiman to play in Zurhaar's current role. I don't see why Zurhaar should be in the back line over a McDonald or a Hardiman. But he was okay. I just don't think he's a defender. And he's had some games where he's been excellent down back, but I also think he isn't a defender. I think we miss him down forward a little bit, and I don't know necessarily we need him down back, but he was okay. Now into the midfield. We'll start with the wingers. We'll go Jai Simpkin, pretty solid again. He kicked a important goal in the first term. It feels like he pops up for a goal pretty much every week. Only the 19 touches, but I feel like he was involved in a lot of what was good for us. So Jai Simpkins, he's putting together quite a strong season. Blameyer's not as noticeable as he's been the last few weeks, but he does a solid role on the wing, and I think his spot's pretty comfortable in the team. Dylan Stevens played well, covered the ground well, unlucky not to get a goal. He kicked one, and then it was overturned because it was touched, but he played well again. I think Stevens is becoming a very crucial role player for us. Now to the on-ballers, I'll start with LDU, back to his best, I'd say. really, really good. He can have better games than he did, but 25 touches, 10 clearances, 11 tackles and a goal. You can't really ask for much more. And he's very damaging whenever he has the ball. I checked the stat sheet at the end of the game. I was like, no way he only had 25 disposals. Like, it felt like he had a lot more of the ball, and that's says how damaging he is with the ball. Next up, Harry Sheezel, 43 disposals at 96%. That is ridiculous numbers. And it wasn't one of his 40-plus disposal games where he's not damaging. He was damaging. 15 score involvements in a low-scoring game. A goal assist, I think it was to Jack Darling. Just a beautifully weighted pass over the top to him. And just was involved in everything. I mean, it was just hard to miss him. And I think... I said this after the game. I think he's becoming underrated. Like, I know that's weird because he's obviously, pick 2. He's 1 rising star, 2 best and fairest already. But I think he's underrated. I genuinely, stand on that point. I think, you look at a player like Dacos, obviously, he's doing it at a higher level than Sheezel. He gets the disposals, but he also gets the scoreboard damage. But Sheezel does a lot of what Dacos is doing with absolutely no credit at all. And I'm not at all saying that Sheezel is, at Dacos' level. There's definitely a difference between the two of them. But I think Sheezel deserves more respect. Not just among our fan base. We do generally appreciate him a lot. But I think amongst the wider league, I think he deserves more credit. I mean, not that he or we need him to get credit to be validated, but I just think he does this, it puts in these performances a lot. And yesterday was a huge game from him. And we'll probably get the 10 votes. Just brilliant stuff. George Wardlaw, probably not his best. He started the game on fire with 2 centre clearances, but only 59% time on ground. He did get a corky. Not too sure if that'll rule him out for next week, just with a precautionary kind of thing with George, maybe not wanting to travel him. But it wasn't his best. He looked a bit scrappy at times, but can never discredit his intent and attack on the footy. I think I mentioned it earlier, but the ruck situation, I'm not too sure if Dawson and CCJ work as a duo. Goad, maybe they don't trust him to run out a game, but CCJ and Dawson just weren't it for me. And the sooner we get Sherry back, the better. Not sure if he'll be back for the Port game. If not, I'd say they'll just stick with Dawson and CCJ again, which is disappointing. But it is what it is. Not great performances from either of them. Not too much else to say. And then to round out the midfielders, Finn O'Sullivan, not his strongest performance by any means, but 21 disposals. Looks clean with the ball as always. But he'll get there. He's had a few setbacks now this year. Concussion, jaw injury. He's still such a great player. So no concerns about him at all. Now to the forward line. It was an interesting day for these guys. They got plenty of chances. They were leading up to the ball. It was just the inaccuracy that let them down. There are a few players that, chipped in for some goals. Spargo, one of his better games. I still think he's a little bit fumbly under pressure sometimes. But his pressure and intent, I can't question. Sometimes his body language is not the best. Myself and a few other North fans are a bit concerned with the way he sometimes talks to teammates, but it's a bit hard for us to interpret exactly what he's telling them. But to look past that, he kicked 2 goals, a really crucial one in the last quarter to put the game to bed. So good performance from Spargo. I wouldn't be calling for him to be dropped soon. Cooper Trembath, just such a joy to watch. 1 goal, 2, competitive at centre bounce. Probably should have kicked more, but that chase down tackle was probably the moment of the game for mine. Zane Dersma, just concerningly quiet again. Last week was okay from him. He just couldn't convert. He kicked the 0 goals for, I believe. This week he just couldn't find the footy, which has been an issue a lot this year. And I think without Curtis and Zerha there, I thought he would thrive a little bit with more space. He's probably the only pure medium-sized forward down there now. A bit concerning. I'm not sure if he loses his spot. I'm not sure if Clarko keeps, playing him, but definitely a watch, I would say. Jacob Constantine, really good. 2 goals, in that middle part of the second quarter when the game, could have gone on Essendon's terms. Good pressure as well, applied 4 tackles. He's building nicely this last month, I'd say. I think he's a very serviceable small forward, and he can be better, but I think he's getting there as a player. Nick Larkey, just so frustrating. Like, he could have had a huge day. 1 goal, 5, missed some really easy shots as well. But he, to try look past that, he was marking the ball really well, competing well. He just had some absolute hiccups, not even just the misses. He, dropped a mark inside the goal square, let a shot go through from behind when he probably should have marked it. Just very frustrating because he could have had a huge day. And then last up, Jack Darling. I say this all the time. Unk's still got it, 34 years of age, and he's just consistently, putting in solid performance after solid performance. The 2 goals straight for him just does not get beaten in the air. So, overall, looking at it, we played a lot better than a 14-point win. 8-7 is just awesome. I think to build a winning environment now, to know how to win ugly when in years past, if our quality dropped to the level maybe we're considering it is now, we would lose these games, but we've won 3 ugly games in a row, and that's so important, especially after the thumping at the hands of Fremantle. But this next month of footy is the most important in a very, very long time, because for the first time since 2019, probably 2018, we have a chance to make finals, and that is, as a fan who's been starved of September footy since I was 10 years old, that's just so exciting. Like, I can't help but envision going to the G in September for the first wildcard round. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, but I think the belief is there, but we've just got to do it against better teams, and we are playing better teams coming up. Our game coming up against Port Adelaide, they are 15th on the ladder, but they are coming off an incredible showdown win. And they are a much, much better team than 15th, let's be honest. We beat them in round 1 convincingly. We're actually the team that have beaten Port Adelaide by the biggest margin. So going into this game, that gives me a bit of hope that we have a bit of the upper hand on them. But they're not a bad team at all. They've actually got a better percentage than us, despite winning. I think they've won 3 less games than us, but they have a percentage of 8 better than ours, and that shows that they're actually a very competitive team, and they're not a pushover. I think there's some players there that are really dangerous, the likes of Butters and our former number 1 draft pick, Horn Francis. I think without Sherry, Jordan Sweet could really get on top in this game. But I'll save the Port Adelaide stuff for the preview episode. But with other games coming up against Collingwood, St Kilda and Melbourne, I think the only way we're making wildcard is if we win our next 4 against Port Adelaide, Collingwood, St Kilda and Melbourne, with then our last 4 games being Hawthorn, Bulldogs and Sydney and Geelong, So I think we've got to win 11 or 12 games to make the wildcard, but we've just got to take it 1 week at a time, and this coming week against Port Adelaide is a huge opportunity to win our first ever game at Adelaide Oval. But yeah, that preview for the Port Adelaide game will be out soon. Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for pushing through. I know my voice is fully gone, but hopefully I'll get well soon. And enjoy the win, guys.